Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari. Gopi Janavallabha Girivardhari. Jaya Gopi Janavallabha Girivardhari. Yashodanandana Braja Jana Ranjana. Yashodanandana Braja Jana Ranjana. Yamuna Tira Vanachari. Yamuna Tira Vanachari. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari. Jai Mr. Pad Paramahansa, Parujaka Church, Ashtotar, the Shishimada's Divine Grace, Srila A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada Ki Jai, ISKCON BBT Founder Acharya Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai, and Jai Om Vishnupad Paramahansa, Parujaka Church, Ashtotar, the Shishimada's Divine Grace, Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur Ki Jai, Ananda Koti Vaishnavinda Ki Jai, Namacharya Srila Haridas Thakur Ki Jai. Srimad Bhagavad Gita Ki Jai, Samaveda Bhaktivinoda Ki Jai. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to Shri Guru and Gauranga. Okay. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. On the 16th day of June 2020 in SanDiego, we're reading from Srimad Bhagavad Gita as it is, translation and commentary by His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada. And we are in chapter 14 entitled The Three Modes of Material Nature. Text 18 on page 581. Urdvam gachanti sattvastha madhye tishtanti rajasaha chagandhiguna vrittista adho gachanti tamasaha. Urdvam gachanti sattvastha madhye tishtanti rajasaha chagandhiguna vrittistha adho gachanti tamasaha. Urdvam gachanti sattvastha madhye tishtanti rajasaha chagandhiguna vrittistha adho gachanti tamasaha. Urdhvam gachanti sattvastha madhye tishtanti rajasaha chagandhiguna vrittistha adho gachanti tamasaha. Urdhvam gachanti sattvastha madhye tishtanti rajasaha chagandhiguna vrittistha Hado gachanti tamasaha. Urdhvam, upwards. Gachanti, go. Sattvastaha, those situated in the mode of goodness. Madhye, in the middle. Tishtanti, dwell. Rajasaha, those situated in the mode of passion. Jaganya, of abominable guna quality. Vrittistaha, whose occupation. Adaha, down. Gachanti, go. Tamasaha, persons in the mode of ignorance. Translation. Those situated in the mode of goodness gradually go upward to the higher planets. Those in the mode of passion live on the earthly planets, and those in the abominable mode of ignorance go down to the hellish worlds. Purport. In this verse, the results of actions in the three modes of nature are more explicitly set forth. There is an upper planetary system, consisting of the heavenly planets, where everyone is highly elevated. According to the degree of development of the mode of goodness, the living entity can be transferred to various planets in this system. The highest planet is Satyaloka, or Brahmaloka, where the prime person of this universe, Lord Brahma, resides. We have seen already that we can hardly calculate the wondrous condition of life in Brahmaloka. But the highest condition of life, the mode of goodness, can bring us to this. The mode of passion is mixed. It is in the middle, between the modes of goodness and ignorance. A person is not always pure, but even if he should be purely in the mode of passion, he will simply remain on this earth as a king or a rich man. But because there are mixtures, one can also go down. People on this earth, in the mode of passion or ignorance, cannot forcibly approach the higher planets by machine. In the mode of passion, there is also the chance of becoming mad in the next life. The lowest quality, the mode of ignorance, is described here as abominable. The result of developing ignorance is very, very risky. It is the lowest quality in material nature. Beneath the human level, there are 8 million species of life, birds, beasts, reptiles, trees, etc. And according to the development of the mode of ignorance, people are brought down to these abominable conditions. The word tamasaha is very significant here. Tamasaha indicates those who stay continuously in the mode of ignorance without rising to a higher mode. Their future is very dark. There is an opportunity for men in the modes of ignorance and passion to be elevated to the mode of goodness, and that system is called Krishna consciousness. But one who does not take advantage of this opportunity will certainly continue in the lower modes. Om Jnana Timirandasya Jnanandana Shalakaya Chakshu Unmilatam Mena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. I was born in the darkness of ignorance, but my spiritual master Srila Prabhupada opened my eyes with the torchlight of knowledge. I offer my humble obeisance unto him and to all members of Sri Parampara, the disciplic succession. So Krishna, having described the symptoms and the effects of these different modes, now gives a definitive statement of what your destiny is if you let one of these modes predominate, according to which mode is predominant in your personality. And is made clear in the purport, none of them are really pure in this material world. In other words, you're not purely controlled by goodness, passion, or ignorance. There's a mixture. But the general tendency is if one can cultivate the mode of passion or a mode of goodness predominantly, that he'll go up. This is what urdhva means, upwards to the higher planets for a life of enjoyment. It's not transcendental, but it's much better than staying here in this earthly realm. The problem there, of course, as with everything in the material world, and this is explained explicitly in the 9th chapter, is that anywhere in the material world, even Brahmaloka, it's temporary. Krishna says, Brahma bhavana loka punaravottanojana. That even from Brahmaloka down to the lowest loka, Patala Loka, all the places of return where you have to eventually come back to this earthly realm, or at least come back for another lifetime when you can be affected by different modes. Nothing is permanent here. This is the world of change. That's why it's called Bhavasagara. It's an ocean of becoming old, becoming dead, becoming born, and on like that forever. Until one not forever, but until one is able to break free from the clutches of the material energy. So it's interesting, this word jaganya. Jaganya means abominable. And why is it abominable? Because it drags you down. This is what this adho is, that you become more and more covered. It's kind of a syndrome you can get into with the mode of ignorance. You know, you don't have any energy to do anything, and therefore you don't clean your place. You get more in the mode of ignorance, and to have some kind of excitement. You take some kind of intoxicant, and you're more buried in this. We may have known people like that. We may have been had a danger of being like that ourselves. And you see it all around us, these poor people on the street. It's just practically right in front of you, the mode of ignorance. They're dark, they just want to sleep all the time, and there's always this fear gnawing at, there's no security. We can see it in front of us. What to speak of the animals, the plants, they're firmly covered by this mode of ignorance. So Krishna consciousness means light. Krishna is light. Krishna is Surya Sama. This I don't know if you know, there's some motto of the Back to Godhead magazine. What does it say? Nescience? Nescience is darkness. Where there is Krishna, there is no nescience. Krishna is like the sun. Nescience is like the deep darkness. Wherever there is Krishna, there is no nescience, there is no darkness. So light and knowledge go together. This illumination, even this word enlightenment, it's understood when he's going to be in a higher state of consciousness. So that's what we're striving for here in Krishna consciousness, to systematically cultivate those activities, those habits that will let us rise out of the modes of passion and ignorance and become firmly situated in the mode of goodness, which is a platform upon which we can build pure goodness. That's mentioned in the second chapter, first canto, these famous verses, after the preliminary verses describing what real dharma is, and that even in varnashram dharma, the essence is to worship Krishna, and therefore one who is truly wise, tasmad eke namanasa bhagavan satvatam shrotevya kuditavya dejas pujas nityada. One will always, or at least regularly, hear about Krishna, worship Krishna, chant about Krishna, remember him, and in this way fulfill the mission of varnashram, which is the previous verse. All of the different elements of varnashram, kshatriya, brahman, etc., are successful only when the activities are aimed at satisfying Hari. Sangsiddhir Haritorshanam. So how does one do that? Primarily by hearing and chanting. So one has to get that taste for hearing. How does one get the taste? By serving the pure devotees. Shushusho Shradhanasya Vasudeva Kata Ruchi. Vasudeva is Krishna, Kata is sound, vibration, and glorifying him. And Ruchi means the taste. So to cultivate that taste is the essence, of our sadhana. And it's mostly through service under the guidance of spiritual masters or spiritual master. Then, when one has that taste, one can develop the sword of remembrance. Yadanudyasina yukta karma granti nabandhanam. One can cut off one's karmic reactions and one's knots or one's attachments to this world. Comes from that hearing and chanting mostly. Chindandi koyakura katarutim. Who would not be attracted? So then he gives the verse how to develop the attachment, and then come these 5 verses which relate to this the idea of the modes. It's in there. So he says, Shinvatam sukata krishna panyashavana kirtana. Ridyandaksto yabhadrani vidunoti suditsatam. Krishna himself is the best friend of everybody. But he acts in such a way to express that friendship. He's always trying to give us good instruction, but we're not hearing. But when he understands that someone is hearing nicely about him from the proper source, Shundadam Swakata, his own kata, Krishna is the subject of the sentence, who is punya, which are these kata, punya shavana kirtana, or the glorification of Krishna automatically gives you punya, which is pious credits, but not for material advancement, for spiritual advancement. Ridyandaksto, situated in the heart, Yabhadrani vidunoti, he cleanses away the unwanted things that have been accumulating since time immemorial. The lust, the anger, the greed, the illusion, the unwillingness to serve, all of these bad qualities can be, they're dirt on the heart. It's like the dust on the mirror of the mind, like Lord Chaitanya gives the analogy. Yabhadrani vidunodi suritsatam. What's the result? And that's that verse I chant before every Bhagavatam class. Nashta prayeshu abhadreshu nityam bhagavata sevaya. By regularly serving the Bhagavad. Two main forms, the Srimad Bhagavatam Purana, Bhagavad Purana, and the Mahabhagavat, the great devotee. So we should always remember, when we're sitting here listening to Bhagavad Gita, not me speak, but listen to these wonderful purports that Prabhupada gives, this is service to the Mahabhagavat, Srila Prabhupada. Even though he may not be personally here, visibly, in flesh, so to speak, he's here in his most important form, his words. And by carefully hearing them and trying to put them into our lives and act on them, that is service to the Mahabhagavat. So by doing that, what is the result? Nashta prayeshu badreshu. All of these abhadras, these unwanted things in the heart, tendencies and all the things I mentioned, they're destroyed. Nashta, almost to nil. Prayeshu means not completely, but when you get some of them, percentage, 70-80%, Prabhupada says, then you reach this state. Nityam bhagavata sevaya, by regularly serving. Bhagavat nashta prayeshu badreshu nityam bhagavata sevaya bhagavat yuttama shloke bhakti bhavati naishtiki. Then your devotional service becomes fixed in this nishta platform, which Rupa Goswami describes in his famous verses from Shraddha to Prema, from faith to love. So the middle one is Nishta, when you clean away the anarthas. Anarthas and abhadras are practically synonymous by the process of sadhana, chiefly chanting the holy name. Anartha and vriddhi. Nishta. Nishta means this firm faith that Lord Chaitanya defines through Sanatana Goswami, I believe. Shraddha shabde vishwas kohe sudridha nishtoy Krishna bhakti korli sarva karma krita hoy. That real faith, and that's this nishta, not the preliminary faith in the beginning, is Shraddha Shabde Vishwas Kohe, the Sudridha, a firm conviction that what? Krishna Bhakti, by the process of Krishna Bhakti, Korle Sarva Karma Kataho, all my desires will be fulfilled. I don't have to compartmentalize and I'm doing my bhakti now I'm working for something else. That everything I do has to be somehow dovetailed within the realm of bhakti yoga. And that'll be my success. So that conviction is very important. And then what's the result? It's exactly pertinent to the passage here we're reading in the Bhagavad Gita. Tada radas tomo bhava kama lobhadayas chehe cheta eta anavadam stitam sattve prasidati. Then at that time, tada radas tamas, the modes of rajas and tamas, of passion and ignorance, are eliminated. And with them, their concomitants, lust and greed, etc. Kama lobhadayas means etc. And cheta etam navidam, the mind is not disturbed by these lower modes, because these modes act on the mind and induce you to act in a certain way. What is it? Kama krodha tada lobas. No. Nashtapaya nityam bhagavata sevaya tada radastamo bhava kama lobhada cheta eta navidam stitam sattve prasidasi. One is fixed in the mode of goodness. You see. And that platform, then you can proceed. In the next verse he describes Evam prasanna manaso Bhagavad Bhakti Yogadaha. By continuing the practice of Bhagavad Bhakti in this transcendental mood, in this mode of goodness, one becomes naturally joyful. Prasanna manaso Bhagavad Tattva Vijnanam. You get realized knowledge. Krishna reveals himself more and more. Mukta Sangha Sajayate, and one becomes completely liberated from the material affection. Prabhupada would use this word affection. You have to watch when you read his books. Sometimes affection means affection. You know, Mother Yashoda's affection. But often it means the quality of being affected by. I'm free from material affection. If you see something like that in his books, it means you're not affected by the material energy anymore. Material affection, huh? Yeah, I mean, it could be material. You have to see the context, you know. But that's interesting. I discovered that from a long time editing. So that's you know, our program for moving up the modes. Otherwise, you're kind of at the mercy. You know, you don't know anything about the modes, and you just say, "All right, I'll hang out with this friend. We haven't seen him in quite a while." He takes you to some party, he takes you to some bar, and there you are in the mode of ignorance. You know. And it just affects you. The atmosphere, the association is very powerful, you know. Now, if you have a nice friend who's in the Hare Krishna movement, said, let's try the temple. Okay, let's go to then you're very fortunate. And devotees have become devotees that way. I don't know if you saw my little, they did a Wisdom of the Sages thing with me, you know? Yeah, on Sunday. Yeah. Have you seen this? There's a whole series of them. You can check it out this last Sunday. And so he was describing, which I had forgotten, to be honest, you know, how I first met him. It was back in '88. And he came down to Miami. And he was in a band, you know, but he was interested in Krishna consciousness. And his van, he was going to go on his last tour, and his van, the engine block split, you know, the ruined van. So a friend of his, who later became a devotee, but wasn't at all interested at that point, said, well, you know, I'm kind of free this summer. Would you like to go on the tour? I mean, I have a van, you know, go. And so Ryan said, well, maybe this is Krishna's arrangement, you know, because he was already seeing things that way. So the first stop was Miami. They were up in Connecticut, so they come all the way down to Miami, drive down in the van, you know. So Raghunath says, I want to stay in the temple. We had a temple right on the beach at that time, you know. So there were a bunch of guys in the band. And the others, are you kidding? We're not going to Hare Krishna. The only one who said yes was, I think his name was Steve, who later became a devotee with Raghunath. And so I said, okay, I'll stay in the temple, you know. So they were able to get a room there, and they met Panchagoda, who was now the temple president in Vrindavan. He was the temple president there. And then he says, the next person I met was Dravida. And I frankly, I don't remember this other devotee. I remember Raghunath coming. But this other devotee said, oh, and that Dravida, he just melted my heart, you know. In other words, somehow I was just giving him what I give, you know, the slokas and everything. And he responded to that, because they're musicians, you know, so then they both became devotees after that.
They were both on the podcast?
No, not Shashi Shuddha wasn't on it, but Raghunath was there. And the other one was Kaustubha. And there's another pastime with him that I had almost forgotten, but he reminded me of it. But anyway, that's how it happens. You know, that Krishna consciousness, if you have, mostly it's from previous birth. You have some agyata sukriti, meaning you know, even unconsciously you served, you know, and Krishna, that goes into the account, you know. Or you may have made some advancement last birth, and you know, now you're taking it up where you left off. But it's amazing how some people are really interested. You know, this Vijay Prabhu has this email tree where he sends out stories. People send him stories. And there's one devotee, Shastra Krit, who's a wonderful distributor. He's in Atlanta now. And you know, the New York chanting team went down to Atlanta. You know that? I didn't even know that. Because New York is shut down, so they did be chanting. And he has those stories, some fellows walking along, you know. And he asks Shastra Krit, do you have any books about Krishna? You know. He ends up selling him a Bhagavatam set, you know, the guy's carrying. But it's, you know, thousands of people walk by, and one person is intrigued, you know, this Krishna from within the heart, say, oh, well, check this out, and before you know it, you know. So when we have the opportunity, the idea is that strike while the iron is hot, you know. We have an opportunity, we're alive, our senses are in good order, you know, we have some time at our disposal, and we've made a sacrifice so that we'll stay in this environment, you know. We should really become very determined to make as much advancement as possible. Who knows how long, you know, our material advantages or opportunities will last. You know, just the body itself. I mean, we have one tragic situation where a wonderful young devotee who grew up here in the community, she's 36 years old, she came down with cancer in Alachua, you know, terminal cancer. So who knows? So therefore, every moment is precious. You know, that's one of the indications of someone who's really serious is no wasting time, and take every advantage to, you know, hear, chant, serve, whatever is on the program, and you find yourself moving very nicely up the modes and into the mode of pure goodness where you can really appreciate Krishna. So, any comments, questions? Urdhvam gachanti sattvastha. We don't want to go up to the heavenly planets. We want to go all the way back to Goloka. All right, let's read text 19. Are we ready? Nanyam gunebhyak kartaram yadadrishnanu pashyati Gunebhyascha param veti. Param veti. Madbhavam sodigacchati. When one properly sees that in all activities no other performer is at work than these modes of nature, and he knows the Supreme Lord, who is transcendental to all these modes, he attains my spiritual nature. Purport: one can transcend all the activities of the modes of material nature simply by understanding them properly, by learning from the proper souls. The real spiritual master is Krishna, and he is imparting this spiritual knowledge to Arjuna. Similarly, it is from those who are fully in Krishna consciousness that one has to learn this science of activities in terms of the modes of nature. Otherwise, one's life will be misdirected. By the instruction of a bona fide spiritual master, a living entity can know of his spiritual position, his material body, his senses, how he is entrapped, and how he is under the spell of the material modes of nature. He is helpless, being in the grip of these modes. But when he can see his real position, then he can attain to the transcendental platform, having the scope for spiritual life. Actually, the living entity is not the performer of different activities. He is forced to act because he is situated in a particular type of body, conducted by some particular mode of material nature. Unless one has the help of spiritual authority, he cannot understand in what position he is actually situated. With the association of a bona fide spiritual master, he can see his real position, and by such an understanding he can become fixed in full Krishna consciousness. A man in Krishna consciousness is not controlled by the spell of the material modes of nature. It has already been stated in the 7th chapter that one who has surrendered to Krishna is relieved from the activities of material nature. For one who is able to see things as they are, the influence of material nature gradually ceases. Now, one thing I want to mention here is that when you read Srila Prabhupada's books, he's constantly referring to verses. Sometimes, occasionally, he'll quote the Sanskrit, but oftentimes he won't. Like here, he's saying it has already been stated in the 7th chapter. Now, we can cultivate the knowledge. Do you know what verse? See, now this is how it works, because you have to be, okay, I want to become qualified to give class. Mukunda's already given class. But, it's good to be able to know what verse is appropriate for proving what point and what Prabhupada is referring. Here he's referring to 7:14, so which we have our book. Let's look at 7:14. This is a very often quoted verse. You have that list that Prabhupada Shloka Uttamas. I'm sure it's up there high on that list. So what does this say? So Mukunda, you lead us in the Sanskrit, and Alex, you read the English. Daiviyesha gunamahi mama maya dodatyaya mayame jante mayame tang tadantite. Go ahead, Alex.
Divine energy of life, consisting of 3 modes of material nature, is difficult to overcome. But those who have surrendered unto me can easily cross them.
So you see how that was the perfect verse Prabhupada's quoting there, So it's nice if you cultivate these verses. You say, oh, I know what verse he's quoting there. And then when it comes time, you're giving a talk and you want to make that point, that verse comes out. And when these verses, you hear Prabhupada's lectures, you can see it adds so much weight. He's able to recall these verses, call them in, He's actually calling upon, Krishna there and Shukadeva Goswami, they're all present there. So it adds, a lot of power to the presentation. It's already been stated in the 7th chapter that one who has surrendered to Krishna is relieved from the activities of material nature. For one who is able to see things as they are, the influence of material nature gradually ceases. So again, he's back to the seeing. You remember this was a theme in the 13th chapter. One who sees with the vision of eternity can undersee the soul, the super soul. So drashta, you see the word drashta in the first line? That means the seer. One who is a seeing, anupashati, sees properly. So in other words, we're meant to live in the world and to see through the eyes of Shastra. Shastra chakshus. There's a word like that. Shastra means scripture, chakshus means eyes. So, we're already seeing, but we're seeing through the modes of nature. Prabhupada would give the example, someone who's very much in the mode of passion, very, sexually inclined, he'll walk down the street and he'll be especially focused on objects of the senses, some hot woman, something like that. He won't even see the other people, or just will be peripheral vision, He'll see like that. Someone's in the mode of ignorance, looking to score. Where's the connection? You know what I mean? Someone is in the mode of passion, maybe, seeing with more dispassion, and seeing more according to this, the mode of goodness. Someone in the mode of goodness may see according to the Bhagavad Gita if she reads it. So we're meant to see ourselves and the world in terms of the Shastra. Ultimately, to see it's all a manifestation of Krishna's energy. There's one verse which I don't forget the Bengali, but it means one who is really enlightened. He doesn't really see the forms. He sees Krishna everywhere. You'll see a tree where say, "Oh, this is Krishna's energy. There's a soul, it's part and parcel of Krishna." So you're actually reminded. You're seeing, and it's similar to what Prabhupada gives the example of a mother. The first day of class, right? The mother's been with the child constantly, and now finally the kid's 5 years old and he's going to kindergarten. So it's a big trauma for the kid as well as the mother. The kid is now going to get a little more socialized, and the mother has to be in separation. So she's cleaning up his room, that he played in, and there she sees a shoe, little shoe, baby shoe. I remember when I was a kid, we would go to various houses, and then people would bronze the shoes, or they put them on to remind them of the baby. So she sees the shoe, and a tear comes from the corner of the eye. Oh, he played so much in that shoe. Now I have to give him some little sneakers that he was going to. So what happened? She saw the shoe, but she didn't. She saw more than the shoe. She recalled the child. It was what we call it. There's a thing called udipana. Udipana, which means a stimulus for remembering Krishna. You see it all the time in Krishna Lila. That the footprints. You'll see they'll see his footprints, and suddenly they'll go into ecstasy. Oh, especially when he's in Mathura now. And they preserve those footprints carefully, or they just see a tree that Krishna played under or something, So what are they? They're seeing the tree, but mostly they're seeing Krishna in their hearts. You see through the knowledge that you have, and that works in the material plane also. I like to give the example. You've heard this maybe 10 times already. When I was a kid, I grew up near New York, and New York City. There's all these museums, famous museums. So we would go in periodically, and I became familiar with some of the paintings in Museum of Modern Art and everything. I remember especially Guernica, Picasso, he's painting the bombing of a Spanish city, That's stuck in my mind. So I became interested in fine art, and my parents bought me some books, 4 or 5 books. I remember, the different ages of painting, And I say, well, so this is what he's painting there. A lot of religious symbols, and So I would then when I went into the city, I would see a Rembrandt, or I would see this, and it would have more meaning to me. I would see it with knowledge, and it happens all the time. People walk in here, they don't know what these paintings mean, But if the devotee says, "Oh, there's Lord Chaitanya and his Sankirtan party," I've read about it. So on that, it's happening all the time. And the more that we are saturated with this knowledge and we live by it, then we start to see the world differently. Ideally, everything reminds you of Krishna. You see him everywhere. You're never separated from Krishna. And because you're a devotee of Krishna and you're trying to engage as much of the material world into service, therefore Krishna bestows that vision on you. And you feel everywhere the presence of the Lord. Prabhupada, you'd say, when I came to America, I was alone so much, but actually he never felt alone. He always felt the presence of his spiritual master, the presence of Krishna, Lord Chaitanya, like that. And you can see how much peace and happiness you can get just from that, developing the vision. So that's what he's talking about here. If one really develops that vision and he sees the modes of nature actively, and you're not being victimized by the modes, then eventually you go back to God. And mad bhavam, you attain to my nature. So that's what we're supposed to be learning in this chapter. That's why at the beginning he said, if you really understand this knowledge, then you go back to Godhead. And pretty soon we're going to come to Arjun's question about how one can recognize someone in the modes and what their activities are, and how one can transcend the modes. And Krishna will answer that very important question at the end. Well, I had hoped to start a little before 8, but I don't think Jamal got my text that he would set up a little before 8. Maybe if we can find him. Did I find him? I'm sorry? Okay. Yeah, he called me about it, but I forgot to mention that we wanted to do it a little early. Okay, why don't we just do one more real quick one, because this is a good place to stop. Arjun will ask his question in text 21. Prakash. You're welcome, Prakash. I can see your effulgence right even through the camera. He's Prakash. He's always he's illuminating. Gunanetana titya trin dehi dehi samudbhavan janma mrityu jara dukkaya vimukto mitamashnite. When the embodied being is able to transcend these three modes associated with the material body, he can become free from birth, death, old age, and their distresses, and can enjoy nectar even in this life. Purport. How one can stay in the transcendental position, even in this body, in full Krishna consciousness, is explained in this verse. The Sanskrit word dehi means embodied soul. Although one is within this material body, by advancement in spiritual knowledge, he can be free from the influence of the modes of nature. He can enjoy the happiness of spiritual life, even in this body, because, after leaving this body, he is certainly going to the spiritual sky. But even in this body, he can enjoy spiritual happiness. In other words, devotional service in Krishna consciousness is the sign of liberation from material entanglement. And this will be explained in the 18th chapter. When one is freed from the influence of the modes of material nature, he enters into devotional service. And that's interesting. At the when one is free from the modes of nature. Okay, now Prabhupada is referring to the 18th chapter. Brahma Bhuta Prasanapana Shochini Nikankti Samak Sarvesha Buddha Shimad Bhaktim Labate Param. When you attain Brahma Bhuta platform, that's above the modes of nature, you become very joyful. You see everyone equally, and you can really begin with bhakti. Now, at the end of this chapter, the second to last verse, it seems to be reversed. He says, one who is practicing bhakti, Mamcha Yova Bichara Bhakti Yogena Sevate Sogunazamate Brahma Bhuya Kalpate. That you practice bhakti yoga and you can rise above the modes and attain to the Brahma Bhuta platform. So I always think, well, what's the deal here? One says you get to the Brahma Bhuta platform and you get bhakti. The other says you get bhakti and you come to the Brahma Bhuta platform. So I think the solution is the difference between bhakti and bhakti yoga. Bhakti yoga, in the strictest sense, means the practice of bhakti to bring you to that state of practicing pure bhakti. And that's what the Brahma Bhuta is. But practicing the principles of sadhana bhakti, one can attain to that state beyond the modes upon which you build that, and then you come to the state of pure bhakti. So we're going to learn that in a few minutes. Excuse me. And our next session, we'll probably finish this chapter tomorrow. Yeah, we will finish this chapter tomorrow. This text 26 is very important, and text 27, especially the first line, first quarter, Brahmanohi Pratishtaham. This is a phrase that is contra to the Mayavad idea. That's important. That Brahman rests on me. It's not that Krishna rests on Brahman. That's the idea. Okay, so that will conclude our study of the Bhagavad Gita tonight. We'll begin with 21 tomorrow and complete the chapter. And now, oh, really?
Yeah, we're going through that.
Uttama Shloka.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm glad. Okay. Okay. So what do I do with this?
I think you could still use it.
Oh, okay. I get it. All right. This I don't need. Maybe you can. All right. So let's see. Actually, this doesn't work. Yeah, you hold on to this. But I think I need one of those. Yeah. Give me that one for now. No, not there. Under here.
Under you?
Yeah.
Fold
Is
it
it?
as plans.
Yeah, you can fold it out in half. That'll be good. That's perfect. In tune. Have you ever played one of these? Yeah. Pretty easy to learn. Where did you learn to play the veena? I got that so many questions. It's not a veena, it's only a tempo. All right, you give me when. It may take a little longer than we had thought, because we only got 10, 11 minutes. Ready? Okay. Okay. The Sri Shikshastika by Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu with poetry by Dravida Dasa. But first let me offer my respects to my spiritual master. Om Jnana Timarandasya Jnanandana Shalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. I was born in the darkness of ignorance, but my spiritual master Srila Prabhupada opened my eyes with the torchlight of knowledge. I offer my humble obeisance unto him and all members of the Shri Parampara, the disciplic succession. Chetodapana marjanam bhavamahadavagni nivapanam shreyakaidava chandrika vatadanam vinjavadhu jivanam anandam buddhivardhanam padipadam purnamita swadanam sarvatmasnapadam param vijayate Shri Krishna Sankirtanam. All glories to the chanting of Shri Krishna's holy names, which easily extinguishes samsara's blazing flames by polishing the lust-encrusted mirror of the heart. That chanting is the waxing moon that knows the secret art of causing the white lotus of good fortune to unfurl its petals far and wide throughout this bleak and blighted world. Of transcendental knowledge which will take us to life's goal, the chanting of the name of Krishna is the life and soul. The ocean of ecstatic bliss floods far beyond its bounds, wherever Krishna's merciful and mystic name resounds. Indeed, whenever Krishna's names are sung in congregation, at every step one tastes the joy that knows no limitation. So hear with great attention as I earnestly request, please chant Shri Krishna's holy names and be supremely blessed. The soothing nectar of the name will bathe your consciousness, bestow pure love for Krishna, and eradicate distress. Nam namakari bahudani sarva shaktis tatra pitani yamitak smaranena kala etadrishita vakripa bhagavan mamapi durdaivami drishamihajani nanuraga. Krishna, Govinda and Keshava too, your names have no end, and in each of them you have invested your potencies, leaving none out. Whenever we want, we can chant them without the slightest restriction of time or of place. O Lord, who can fathom your infinite grace? But I am so wretched and devoid of all shame that I haven't developed a taste for your name. Trinadapi sunichena, tarodapi sahishnuna, amanina manadena, kirtaniyak sadaharihi. More humble than the blade of grass, more tolerant than a tree. To think all praise belongs to others, none belongs to me. Such qualities attract the Lord to bless one with the power to chant His name incessantly until the final hour. Nadanang nadanang nasundarim kapitamba jagadishakamaye mama janmani janmanishwade bhavatar bhaktida to kitvahi. Wealth and women, followers, the fruits of mundane piety, liberation from this world of limitless anxiety. For me, O Lord, these common goals have not the slightest worth. Let me serve you purely now and in each future birth. Ahinandatanu jakinkaram patitam mam vishame bhavambadho kripayatra pankhaja satadhuli sadashang vachintaya. Your servant for eternity, I lost my true identity and fell into this horrid sea of birth and death, O Lord. O Nanda's son, please hear my plea. By your sweet grace consider me a speck of dust upon your lotus feet forevermore. Nayanangaladashudareya vadanangadnkadadudhayagera pulakaya nachatang vapukada tavanamo grahane bhavishyati. Tears streaming from my eyes, my voice choked with bliss, the hair upon my body standing up in happiness. When will all these signs of rapture decorate my limbs? As I chant your holy name, the monarch of all hymns. Yugaitam nimeshena chakshusha pravashahitam shunyahitam jagatsavam govinda vadahe name. Every moment drags on like a million years or more. From the rain clouds of my eyes the tears in torrents pour. This whole creation is nothing but a vast and joyless void. O Govinda, by your absence I am being destroyed. Ashlishava paradatang pinashtumam adarshanan mahatang karotu va yatatatava vidadhantu lampato mat prananatas tusaheva naparaha. Let Madhava embrace this maid who's fallen at his feet, or let him trample me or my most ardent hopes defeat, by never giving me a chance to see him anywhere, thus shattering my heart and plunging me into despair. You see, he is a restless libertine and not a saint, so let him act in any way he likes without restraint. Yet though his cruel and crooked ways may cause me constant woe, Krishna is the only Lord my heart shall ever know. Krishna is the only Lord my heart shall ever know. These 8 essential verses Lord Chaitanya wrote to teach the practice and the goal of chanting Krishna's holy name. Day by day, whoever sings this hymn will surely reach a little closer to perfection, spotless Krishna prem. Gaur Premanande Hare Hare Bo. Jai. I muffed a couple of lines, sorry. Quicker than we thought. All right. Well, we got some time. Let's do a few shlokas, 2 poems. Udaspadispadadindidamindindinamandadas jolisitama hadamanganata mangala mangala satchandanam vande. Upon his chest is manifest the mark of Goddess Shri, and there to rest the best of Rees, a temple for the bees, who worship him by singing hymns that limn his loving play, while Shri Hari most gleefully acclaims the way they pray. For Brajas love mad milkmaids, and for all the Brahmins' wives, Shri Krishna is the ultimate good fortune in their lives. His sandal paste anointed limbs bedimmed of full moon's glow. Unto the lotus feet of Shri Hari I bow down low. Udaspadispadadindidamindindinamandidas jolisitama hadamanganata mangala mangala satchandanam vande. What else? Hindani lamani mandalavana pullani pakasamanchatakana Krishna labata kasorasihari sundaro jayati kundi bihari jayati kundi bihari. You know this one? His smooth complexion conquers sapphires stunning to the eye. Kadamba blooms with fragrance full on each ear gently lie. His beauty's great, and by his chest Mukunda necklace stays. All glories to the Lord who in Vrindavan's forest play. Radhika Padana Chandra Takora Savabala Babaduta Tachora Chachari Chatoda Tanchachari Charato Jayat Kundi Bihari. Chakora longing for the moon of Radha's radiant face, a thief purloining patience from the coward's wives at pace. His mesmerizing singing winning all the gopis' praise. All glories to the Lord who in Vrindavan's forest play. Mododam 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 babada sivabo mododam mododam vadanam mododam modogandi madusmita meta the ho. Mododam 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 mododam. Sweet, sweet is my dear Lord's form, sweet is still his face so fair, but his honey-scented gentle smile is sweet beyond compare. Now this one I don't have a poem to, but I should write a poem. Tutapaniya dhumandavilo bidakula vahama vidichita chandakabhadanamabadanam jakatam mamadishamam yadeti munitan hanabimba maho kimapikashoradam mododam mododam mododam. Another sweet one. You know what? You ever heard this one before? This is by Bilvamangal Thakur. He says, Juta tapaniya, durmanda vilopi dukula baham. The silken garments he's wearing has stolen away the pride of highly refined molten gold, the effulgence of highly refined molten gold. He's fashioned a beautiful ornament, peacock ornament for his head, and he himself is the ornament of the entire universe. Mamadishamam Bhuteti, he has come before my eyes. Mudidana Nabimba Maho, with his very joyful moon-like face. Kimapikashora Dhamma, this adolescent form of Krishna is beyond my ability to explain. He is sweet, 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 sweet as can be. Marodam, marodam, marodam. That is the same meter as the prayers of the personified Vedas in chapter 87 of the 10th canto. I was looking for some more verses in that meter, and I went through my archives and I found this one. All right, well then there's one more. This is a way of transcending all the distress and anxiety in the era of the COVID-19 pandemic. Aho bir nakale beduyate sudha sudhara mododam pade pade dine dine chandana chandra shitalam yasho yashora tanayasya giyate. Yes, because at every step they drink a flood of wondrous nectar sweet, whose cooling power sandal paste enhanced with camphor can't defeat. They feel as if the raging blaze of Kali's days had ne'er begun. How blessed are they who fill their days with praise of Shri Yashoda's son. This is how we should fill our days, by praising Krishna. Okay, that's all I got in my bag. So you got it all? You going to put it on YouTube?